I wanted to bring up something that did not make the show yesterday against my better judgment. All I've ever wanted in my life, one of my great goals as a sports fan, before I die, Danny Huhe, is to see the Washington Commanders be on Hard Knocks on HBO. That's all I want. I want to see my team on Hard Knocks. I want to see my GM and my coach debating the roster. I want the magnets on the whiteboard behind Dan Quinn to show the linebacker position and how they view it. I want to get that inside intel that I'm not supposed to have because the cameras are showing me more than they generally would. I want to see the interactions between Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury and position coach to be named later. I want the story about the Johnny come lately,
the roster
little engine
guy,
who could, Richmond Flowers isn't supposed to be here, but maybe he'll make the team for the Cowboys this time. I want that to be the guy that makes the catch in the Washington's preseason game. And it's never happened because mostly they've never really had interest. And more often than not, they are not eligible. Danny, some rules were changed by the National Football League yesterday. And the rules that they have changed make it easier for them to force teams to do Hard Knocks. There are more teams eligible than were because clearly teams do not want to do this. They keep having to basically loosen the restrictions. Like, hey, if you satisfy any of these requirements, you don't have to do Hard Knocks. But that list is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So the NFL changed, and I say all this to tell you Washington is very much an option this year. But what do you think of this? So these are now the rule changes that will allow for teams to do Hard Knocks that maybe couldn't opt out before.
That could opt out before, yeah.
Teams don't have to do it if they were featured on the training camp edition of Hard Knocks in any of the previous 8 seasons. So if you have been the team chosen for the OG training camp Hard Knocks over the last 8 iterations, you can get out. I think that's reasonable.
Yes.
Because I shouldn't have to do it multiple times.
Right. Now, you could want to, and you could do as many times as you want. But this is the, hey, man, we've already done this once. Let's not.
All right, but we still got 24 teams that could do it, right?
That's right.
Number 2, teams do not have to be on the show if they have a first-year head coach. I like that too.
Makes sense to me.
You were terrible last year. You bottomed out. Someone's trying to set a culture. We don't need a bunch of cameras looking under the hood and seeing what we're all about when we haven't even built the engine yet.
Yeah.
Right? No problem. So that is generally right around 4 to 6 other teams. This year it's about a half dozen teams or so that also don't have to do it. So now we are up to right around 14 teams, right? Half the league is still eligible, a little more than that. If not exempt from selection based on club participation in Hard Knocks on a similar access show prior to the 2024 pursuant parameters that existed at the time of such clubs' prior participation. So what does this mean?
That's an easy sentence to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's what this means. Are you on another all-access show that the league is producing in some capacity? That could be the Hard Knocks off-season if they were to bring it back. That could be the Hard Knocks in-season because they're doing it now by division with 4 teams. So, let's say they pick the NFC East this year. You'll know that in advance. We don't know yet, but the league will put that out. And then you could say, look, I'm not doing training camp. You guys are going to be here all season. So assuming it's not the NFC East, that means Washington very much an option. And what we're looking at is 20 possible teams to include in the NFC East, your Commanders with the Eagles and the Giants, who would be eligible, assuming NFC East is not the featured division. Which, by the way, if that happens, it's still cool because I still
still good.
Might even be better, honestly, because I get in-season Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Now you're sharing the spotlight with 3 teams, which is a bummer. But beggars can't be choosers here.
It's that in season was actually really, really cool. My favorite thing that they would do is when opponents in the division were playing each other, and they would kind of go back and forth between those meetings where it's like, we're going to have to deal with Jamar Chase. How do we stop Jamar Chase? And then they cut to Cincinnati going, we're going to have to deal with, well, it wasn't everybody on Pittsburgh. But you know what I mean? Like, we're going to have to deal with it. I thought that stuff was so cool and, kind of showed you the way preparation happened. I was into that. That'd be cool for the NFC East as well. You get at least 25% of that shine. I think this ownership group is smart. That's where I'm starting. That's my premise here. I think they're smart enough to know that this would be the best thing they could do. I'm not even being hyperbolic. This would be the best thing they could do. They've got their people where they want them now, right? There was a cleansing that had to take place. There were some guys or gals that were still under contract, and slowly but surely, they got their business guy in now. They got their, this administrator, this guy selling this guy doing that. The house is cleaned up. You're still dealing with the worst stadium in sports. But everyone knows it's not their fault. There is so much.
That wouldn't be featured either.
Yeah, and there's maybe there's a preseason game at Nubbs Field. You'd have to do something to it, but
they're not taking away from the show to go, do you guys know how terrible this stadium is? By the way, look at this leak. I mean, it's irrelevant that your stadium stinks. Make yourself cool again is the point.
That is the point. So, yeah, I was glossing over that. The point is, they could showcase themselves in a way, not to say we're back, but this is so new. This is so much better than it was. And the show would do a really good job of this, acknowledging, look where they just came from. Look at how incompetent and how stupid. Look at how there's no first-round picks from the previous regime on this roster. Look at all the incompetence. Look at all the investigations. Look at all the nonsense that took place. And they went to the NFC title game last year. And they've got a belief internally. This would be the best win some fans locally, nationally, everywhere else move they could make. The best singular move they could make right now.
Before this year, I think the national interest in the Commanders, in the sense of a show like this, was just not high enough. It was too low. Now, with Jaden Daniels as a superstar, with this team having gotten to the NFC Championship game, come on. I think California, Texas, Florida, I think it plays, right? In a way that it has not, probably since the Gibbs Super Bowl years, honestly. If you were doing a Q rating on just every team in the NFL, whether that's by interest and or excitement level, popularity, likability, they're the highest they've been. And we talk about the only real quantifiable thing that we have is the listing from the NFLPA on how good it is to work for Washington. Where do they rank among teams that you'd want to play for? They were 32nd for a couple straight years before this year, which was really year one with this ownership group having their fingerprints on this thing with Adam Peters. They went up to just outside the top 10, 11th. That's quantifiable. From a national fan perspective, Jaden Daniels is an it guy. He's cool. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you the Chiefs with Taylor Swift kissing Travis Kelce on the sideline on family day at training camp or whatever wouldn't be better. With their Super Bowl rings, with Mahomes as the quarterback in the league, with Kelce as one of the biggest stars in the league. I understand that they're probably not number one, but they're not that low on that list either. This is the best chance I've ever had, Danny. This is it. This is my shot. This is the best chance I've had to get my Hard Knocks series for this football team.
I tend to agree with you because now if you get like last year, Houston would have been where Washington is now, right? Houston with the quarterback that took the league by storm, that everybody's darling, with a new head coach that everyone loves, with D'Amico Ryans and company. They jumped up, won a playoff game after being terrible for a long time before and being, frankly, one of the disgraces of the league. Houston was kind of that sexy team. What can happen with a relatively disappointing season, even though Houston, by the way, went to the playoffs, won a game, but it wasn't what everyone thought. Everyone thought they were going to be up there competing with the Chiefs and the Bills and company. They just weren't that good. The shine can wear off a little bit. We'll move on to not you and I. We're here. We love Jaden Daniels and we're rooting for the team. Nationally, that window can close. And through nobody's fault. Just football happens, right? This is the hottest the iron is going to be is right now.
It is time to strike if you're trying to squeeze as many drops out of Commanders' fame and Commanders' interest as a league as you can. Now, if they were to win the Super Bowl, it would skyrocket. But the odds I would say, are against that in year two for Jaden Daniels. But the shift in rules making it a little more likely for Washington to be that team on Hard Knocks.